In case you missed the introductions earlier, my name is Benedict Brown, and along with Mr. Charles Worth, I have the honour of co-hosting this year's Concours. Whilst my fellow MC will be diving into some detail on all things four-wheeled wonders, as a fashion journalist and stylist, and an advocate for the suit, I will be speaking with many of the remarkable men and women who make this street so special. That said, it brings me enormous pleasure to welcome to the stage and introduce Mr. David Gandy, car collector, entrepreneur, and model. David is no stranger to Savile Row, just as he is to every major billboard around the world, reputable fashion magazine, and most small, inescapable advertisement posters on the London Underground promoting Wellman beats biotics. While David's achievements in the worlds of fashion and modelling are well documented, his passions and expertise extend far beyond, particularly with the world of motoring. David, thank you for joining me back on stage. I believe this is the third year we've shared it together. Well done on getting your car here last night. You had a few troubles.
I was waiting for a bit of a break in the weather. It never came. The car doesn't have a roof, has a top-line cover. So I covered up as much as I could. Couldn't find any waterproofs, which is typical. And just got going. But driving a classic car through London in those conditions, I still loved every minute of it.
Yeah, quite right. Well, you have obviously a very beautiful Jaguar XK120, which is currently sat outside Bennett and Winch, I do believe.
Yes, yeah.
A bit like a bespoke suit, your car is not something you can kind of get off the peg, so to speak. Talk me through the kind of customization process, which took an astonishing 2,700 hours.
Yeah, so I worked with JR Classics. As you said, it did take 2,700 hours, but we completed it in about 9 months, which is very, very quick for a build of that magnitude. So we got a donor car with matching numbers, matching chassis, over from the west coast of the United States. Brought it over and went ahead of just sort of sympathetically designing it to the way I wanted an XK120, and we were building it to race it in the Mille Miglia. So I'd raced XK120 in the Mille, so I knew what we needed from it. But we want to be very sort of sympathetic, going back onto the history of Jaguar lightweight racing cars. And not many XK120s have been done, sort of renovated in that way. So we haven't really settled that much with it. We've rated up to about 250 brake horsepower from the original engine. We've put a little sort of adjustable suspension shocks, adjustable pedals, and a smaller steering wheel because I can't really fit into the car with a 17-inch steering wheel. So, but as I said, sort of sympathetically looking at the history of the car and history of Jaguar racing, and make it very individual to myself, as you said, a bit like a bespoke suit.
Yes, and so you're going to be racing in the Mille Miglia this year, is that right?
We raced it in the UAE Mille Miglia.
Okay. When was that?
That was last year. Okay. So across the 8 states of the UAE. Very, very different, obviously, to the original Italian race. But yeah, we haven't had a chance yet to time yet to go into the Italian Mille. So, but that's what the car was built for. So that's what will have to be done.
And I imagine that's the plan too, to get it in there.
That is the plan. The Mille is being sort of licensed out across the world, but the original, as I'm racing it, is still the best.
And then your first experience of racing that was in 2013, is that right?
Yeah, we've done the Mille twice. First one was with, the second one, yeah, both with sort of female supermodels, which is
some co-pilot.
Yeah, some co-pilot. So had absolutely amazing fun. It's a crazy experience in Mille, but and I always say the only place in the world that a race like that could be held is Italy, because they are so car passionate, and it's just an extraordinary race.
And I guess from your two experiences then, so between 2013 and 14, could you pick out your most memorable moment from those two, apart from spending a long time with your beautiful co-pilots?
We were coming down, I think we always sort of share the drive and the navigation. We were coming down with Yasmin, and you come down on I think it's the second day. You come down from the mountains into Rome, so you've got the sunset Rome, you're looking at it, you're coming down. I had no interest on that because we were in a battle with about 3 Maseratis, just constantly coming down like the mountain pass, just overtaking each other. So yeah, we can't call it a race. We never should say that. It's a timed rally, but it's very hard to not get the red mist and take on the Italians and the Germans and all their cars.
And I bet, and for those of you, for those here today who aren't so familiar with it, how many days of racing is it?
It used to be 3,000 miles in 3 days, and they've extended it now to about 3.5 days to make it slightly more commercial.
Yeah,
in some way, to make it easier,
a bit more leisurely and a bit more
But
enjoyable.
I actually enjoyed the intensity of the 3 days, and of course, you can then get a perspective of when Sir Sterling Moss, did the Mille Miglia in 10 hours, averaging 100 miles an hour in his Mercedes. You then get the idea of how I can't honestly even fathom how he did that.
Of course, and going at such speeds in cars which aren't exactly designed and made with many safety measures in place, there must be a few kind of really hairy moments in which you kind of really jump out of your skin thinking, oh my god.
Yeah, you don't think about that in many ways. We probably should, and of course, in a car of, as you say, with no roll bars, my head would be the roll bar if anything went wrong. We did crash in the first one. We had a little bit of an off, and Yasmin was driving, and soon we got hit by another competitor, and it was a soaking wet day, and we went off onto a bank, luckily onto our side. Which is one reason why I don't put the full harness on, I only put the lap belt on, because if something like that happens, I need to get my head below the windscreen as low as I can. Of course. So we were all okay, patched up, and we were also in the lead at that point from the Jaguar team. And all I could concentrate on was getting the Jaguar on all four wheels patched up and going again. And unfortunately we didn't quite make it to the lead again, but we came second that year behind I can't remember, Wallace that year. So yeah, it was good fun.
I mean, they say there's no such thing as bad weather, only bad clothing. When you're kind of driving in UAE through Italy and then from Richmond to Savile Row, obviously clothing is mightily important to you. Given your experience of the modern wardrobe, what are you looking for with your clothing when you're kind of in these races? What's important to you?
Well, in the year we did the Mille, we actually were wearing Wellwear, which is my brand, and it was a constant kind of fight between that we needed to get out, we needed to be racing these 10 hours a day, but getting out the car and having photographs and doing interviews, so you need to look smart as well as having sort of that technical element. So we were fully in Wellwear, and people kept asking us what we were wearing in the car. So then we went back to the year after, the founders of the UAE Mille Miglia asked us to provide all the clothing for the rest of the drivers.
That's quite a sponsorship. And then obviously with Savile Row, your associations here kind of go long back. Can you tell us about your first experience with Savile Row? What did that look like? What did that feel like?
Well, my first experience is probably walking through the street thinking I shouldn't be in any of these stores yet. But that's how Savile Row has changed. And then the more I sort of got into fashion and my love of tailoring and my love of suits, I then got to know a lot of people on the road. Henry Paul being the first one, probably the most historic. Had many suits by him, and then he gradually came to know everyone. Bennett Winch, we're working with at the moment, bringing in these sort of great British younger brands. Of course, that's not suiting. And I've worked with everyone down here. I seem to be sometimes being an unofficial ambassador of Savile Row, weirdly. But the latest thing was our collaboration with Wellwear's Hackett and London Hackett. It's a new thing to everyone else, but I actually met Jeremy about 20 years ago when we first.
I was going to say, how back to a relationship with Jeremy?
Mine and Jerry's goes back about 20 years, but weirdly we worked together 20 years ago and then haven't worked together since. But I've always supported the brand, loved the brand, and then so then we came on to do the collaboration between Wellwear and Hackett, and then I went to go on to do the Savile Row collection as well. Which is, it feels great to be able to work with such a heritage brand such as Hackett.
The Savile Row collection is separate to Wellwear, am I right? It's more of a kind of a tailoring capsule in some ways, or
it's a tailoring, yeah. The Savile Row is a tailoring capsule, but the Wellwear is luxury lounging essentials that after many years, probably 10 years of making sort of luxury lounge. That's kind of become a bit of a forte, so that's what we're working with a few brands, but specifically Hackett to work on that collaboration, and we'll be working on that for what we have done. We've designed and ordered the autumn-winter collection.
And that is the current spring-summer collection, is that available to see in Hackney at the moment?
No, we're only doing, because of being loungewear, summer lounges, much sort of smaller buys, so we carry on. So our t-shirts and a bit of the lounge continues, but it's just the autumn-winter collection. So we're bringing in a lot more sort of cashmeres and blues and different sort of loungewear. So like really, really luxury.
Great, I'll have to keep an eye out for that. And then I guess kind of moving on to a few more quick-fire questions for everybody. Your house is on fire, your wife, children, dog, and Jag are all safe. What are you, David Gandy, running back into and going to go save?
Goodness me. So, my Porsche keys.
All the cars. Brilliant. A close friend of ours told me that you are extremely into your music as well. So, your Desert Island disc, what is on yours?
Extremely into music. I know nothing about modern music. It's all old school.
Yeah, that's the good stuff, though, isn't it?
Yeah, well, it kind of is. I was brought up on, so our road trips when we were young, people wonder why I'm mad about cars. None of my family like cars whatsoever, but we just went on European road trips. So I was in the back of Jags for most of my young age of holidaying. And my mum used to make mixtapes of Motown and soul. So I pretty much knew the words to every Motown and soul song, and it's just, it must be this memory of just good times being on holiday or travelling back to my grandparents or anything. It's just in the back of my mum's car listening to Motown and soul. So it's you know, it's Marvin Gaye, Sam and Dave, just everything Motown and soul really. That's what's still being played today, and that's what my children have on their playlist when they go to sleep.
Really?
I've done the same thing. Yeah.
But those must be some really precious memories of kind of driving with your parents. Where were you going on those sorts of adventures?
We would go skiing every year in the back of our XJ8, which my dad would never have any tread on the tyres and would never ever seem to take chains with him. So there were always quite some hairy
used to hairy moments.
Hairy moments going on. Actually, I have to say now, looking back, my dad's car control was quite remarkable.
That's when you get it.
But I won't ever tell him that. But,
all right. Obviously, being on Savile Row, lots of suits around here. Dressed up or dressed down, and how are you doing it?
Dressed for the occasion.
Niche answer. But you are a fan of a linen t-shirt worn with your suits. That's quite a bit of your look these days.
That's it, and I think yes, Savile Row is great. It's an astounding row. I think it's one of the greatest street in my favourite streets in London. But I'm, of course, I'm going to say this. I will mix High Street with Savile Row, and that's, I think, the beauty of it. You're buying for longevity. People talk about sort of sustainability these days. Yeah. We're trying to reinvent the world of bringing plastics out and out of the ocean and making clothing with it, and rubber and all these different ideas. The ideas, my suits from Savile Row and even like Tom Sweeney on Burlington. I've had for 15 years, and I still wear them. That's the pinnacle of sustainability.
Yes.
So if you want a bigger street, whereas I think probably a lot of guys in the same boat, where yes, you may have to have your suits adjusted, but this clothing is lasting probably 15 to 20 long years and can be passed down as well.
That's the great thing about kind of bespoke tailoring, is quite often tailors leave a little bit of surplus cloth inside the back of a jacket, so if you do put on a few pounds, you can let it out a little bit. But I guess maybe it's a bit like asking you who your favourite child is. Do you have a favourite suit? What's one that you kind of worn most in your life that you kind of never really get used to?
If I had to choose one, and I do just love this suit, and it's the Henry Paul evening suit, which is, they invented it, and it's a midnight blue. They invented the suit, and I have one, and the history behind that, and to actually tell people when they ask me about it, is quite remarkable, and I absolutely love that. And yeah, that's probably the one that sort of stands out. I don't get to wear it very often, so when I do, it's very special.
Yeah, I quite agree. That suit is kind of the pinnacle of evening wear and elegant attire. And then lastly, you've got a lot of inspiration up and down this road. Your next dream car?
We are working on one at the moment.
There we go.
It's the dream car. Just kind of mixing the idea of how electric and is going into working into the classic world. I'm not, still haven't changed anything into electric. Basically, because the cars, I think the sound and of a classic car, especially with the Jaguar 3.4, the wood-cooled engine, head-forged engines of the Porsches. They mean so much to it. So when working with a little car company on their first road-going scale model, which is an 80% scale model of the Bentley Blower, but fully electric. So it's an astonishing idea of how you can keep that heritage, but as an everyday car.
Yeah.
I would call it an everyday car, but it's a lot of fun. And of course, it was James Bond's first car.
There we go.
So it doesn't get any better than that, really.
No, quite right. And when could we expect to see you in that?
Very soon.
Very soon. Well, we heard it here first, ladies and gentlemen. David Gandy, thank you very much for joining me on
Thanks,
stage. Cheers.